All right, I'm Trisha Radcliffe. I am the room MC. I'm a Docker captain, so I've been here all day. I'm introducing Arjuna Rivera. He is a Docker captain, and he is the Digital Skills Senior Manager and Technical Training Strategist at Lockheed Martin, and he's going to share the transform story. Big Whale goes to production, an unexpected journey. And this is part 2, so I'm really looking forward to getting caught up on part 1.
Awesome. Thank you, Trisha. All right, good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? Come on, where's the energy? I know it's later in the day. Let's go. Got to bring it up, bring it up. So again, good afternoon. I'm very excited to be here today. This is my second opportunity of speaking at DockerCon, so awesome event. I'm even more excited based off of the announcements that were made this morning. So hopefully you got to hear the announcements on Docker Enterprise 3.0. Big news, big news. The ARM partnership is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what our the customers do when we look at some of these advancements. So today I will be highlighting part 2 of Lockheed Martin's digital transformation journey. So hold tight. So just a little bit about me. 20-year technologist at Lockheed Martin. Pretty much cover all the roles that a lot of us do: father, brother, husband, geek, photographer, traveler, so forth and so on. And based out of the Washington, D.C. area, so we have a pretty large contingent of Docker captains in the Northern Virginia area. So it's a great community if that's something that interests you through your corporation or through your organization. So like many companies today, there is an imperative to modernize through digital transformation. Lockheed Martin is also on a digital transformation journey, which I'll walk through briefly. But before doing so, let me show you a brief video that kind of communicates our vision of the future of work.
Great design is timeless, but the future always beckons, opening new doors to new possibilities, empowering us to imagine new solutions to the world's most complex challenges. In the future, Lockheed Martin engineers immerse themselves in revolutionary design systems, turning ideas into solutions at speeds we can't even imagine today. Our scientists design groundbreaking materials and define a whole new art of the possible for the solutions we deliver. Our teams work together across space and time, guided by cognitive assistants that put our entire legacy at our fingertips. A digital tapestry makes possible a seamless flow of knowledge, connecting us and all our partners. Humans and intelligent machines work side by side in this factory of the future. Artificial intelligence automates testing and accelerates our journey to first flight. Digital twins of our platforms make it possible to sustain and improve them, even after they've left the factory. Integrated solutions are delivered to our customers to safeguard all we hold dear. Our passion for innovation extends to the generation after next. Great design is timeless. At Lockheed Martin, the future is closer than you think.
So how about a little bit, just that's an awesome video, right? Just a little bit of applause for that. Thank you. So for those who are not familiar with Lockheed Martin, just briefly, we're a global corporation, the #1 defense contractor in the world. We have 100,000 employees and do pretty much everything when you look at our various business areas in aeronautics, in space, our rotary mission systems, and our missiles and fire control. I'm a member of our enterprise operations team, as well as part of our enterprise information team as well. So I want to quickly kind of just go through our digital transformation journey to set the stage on where Docker Enterprise kind of fits in our overall journey. Lockheed Martin has a history of disrupting itself through the adoption of new technology. Our global customers are demanding new solutions to address the challenges that they're facing today. They want us to deliver new products. They want it cheaper, right? The cost to go down over the life cycle of those particular products. And more importantly, for those to be reliable. The only way we meet our customer needs is by changing the way we work. So a lot of the video that mentioned 3D additive manufacturing, we're talking about autonomy and AI, cognitive assistance, cloud computing, digital means of collaboration to ultimately impact and revolutionize our manufacturing, our engineering, our operations, and even our business processes. Docker Enterprise is one of our core components when we look at that transformative computing block as part of our overall digital transformation journey. So the next few charts, I'm going to talk about our path to production. Okay? Last year, if you didn't have an opportunity to attend DockerCon 2018, I had the opportunity to go over our part 1. So I'm going to give you the brief recap so that for those who were able to participate, it's not too much old news. Actually, I'll ask real quickly, who was able to attend last year and hear this speech? Yep, we have one. The Lockheed dudes, I know the Lockheed dudes. Okay, awesome. So it'll be relatively new. So part 1 was really talking about the whole discovery of Docker, containerization, microservices. As large as a corporation our size, we had a lot of organizations working Docker, leveraging containers, and so forth. It was very fragmented. We, from an enterprise custodian perspective, had not really embraced Docker as a platform or containerization as a technology. So I had created what was called then I2 Labs, and it really was a means of modernizing apps and infrastructure with our focus on enterprise IT. We were primarily leveraging Docker CE and wanted to take the next step to a Docker EE perspective. We also started inspiring all the fragmented organizations to start coming together, especially with us spearheading the whole Docker EE and enterprise offering moving forward. So they wanted to participate. They were tired of managing their own infrastructure. They wanted to see us leverage cloud capabilities. So we started on that journey. Through enterprise-grade alpha and beta testing, we were able to work through our development cycle and start building our architecture. We started really nailing down what do we want to do from a security standpoint, which I'll talk about from a production standpoint. We wanted to nail down what's our performance and health monitoring going to look like in this new modern platform. And then ultimately, around last August, September, is when we finally made the cutover to production. So let's talk about that. We're going to go through a few charts just to kind of give everyone here a little bit of what our production architecture looks like. So at a high level, when we talk about the build, ship, run at Lockheed Martin, we, like many companies, wanted to support a development, a staging, and production infrastructure. As part of our foray into Docker Enterprise, we really meant when we said we were taking a cloud-first methodology. So our first instances, our first Docker clusters, were in AWS's GovCloud and in AWS East. AWS is our CSP, or cloud service provider of choice right now at Lockheed Martin. And as you can see, just real briefly, from a development, staging, and production standpoint, those are primarily in our US East VPCs, as well as some production, failover DR, and then our other production workloads due to data sensitivity requirements. As you can imagine, our primary customer is the United States government and the Department of Defense. So we have a lot of data sensitivity, third-party proprietary requirements, where we have to operate out of AWS GovCloud. And then just kind of down at the bottom, you can kind of see from a roles perspective, our admins, developers, and users, and how they interact from a US East perspective, our auto-scaling groups, our registry auto-scaling groups, and then our worker nodes auto-scaling groups. This is a little bit more detail on what our production enterprise architecture looks like. So I won't go into all of it, but again, just to kind of highlight, due to our data sensitivity requirements, we're really managing clusters in both US East as well as in GovCloud. We have a VPC that supports our development environments, our staging, and our production. Our containers as a service product is running on multiple EC2 instances, and then we actually have connections to our program managed VPCs. So these are our programs are actually developing product. A lot of the products that you saw in the video, planes, subs, satellites, and so forth, they connect into our various container as a service clusters in our East as well as in our GovCloud instances. A lot of our traffic is running through Equinix, and we have multiple direct connects when you look at data centers in Auburn as well as in San Jose. I wanted to highlight this chart. It's kind of busy, but for those who are on your Docker enterprise journey and going to production, I can't emphasize enough the importance of having a solid CI/CD pipeline just to manage the overall cluster infrastructure. We have a lot of governance baked in here when you talk about dev and test, management of what images are coming from where. How are they vetted? How are they then pushed from a DTR and UCP perspective into our various regional production areas? When we talk about from the developer into our respective clusters and then down to the actual user. So again, really following the methodology when we talk about cloud first, when we talk about transforming our operations from a DevOps perspective. Docker Enterprise was key to really making all of this happen. Another big one for us was the provisioning. How are we going to allow our users from a self-service perspective provision their respective nodes to run their workloads? So we're primarily a ServiceNow shop. And within ServiceNow, we've went ahead and streamlined and automated what those customer service requests look like. So it may be a little bit small, but you can kind of see we have drop downs on the various business areas that are coming in, which users from which business areas, either our aeronautics, our enterprise operations, missiles and fire control, and so forth. We look at where they are globally. There are different requirements based on where they are from a data sovereignty perspective, especially out of EU versus US and so forth, Canada. The storage type, and then the various code repository. Are they using GitLabs or GitHub or Bitbucket? So this was a significant and a little bit of a monumental effort. So kudos to the team to be able to get this kind of self-service provisioning aspect in place. So for those who weren't here last year, I spoke a little bit about Aqua, and I think Aqua had a session earlier today. But Aqua is our container security platform, and we've had a very positive experience with Aqua. Not only are we using them from a policy-based enforcement perspective, various host management and configuration, that's fully automated. Policy-based images and container management. The big takeaway, though, with Aqua was that we initially tried to use legacy security tools when ushering our Docker enterprise platform. And as you can imagine, it didn't work. Bringing in modern tooling, modern applications like Docker, and introducing concepts like microservices architecture, you must bring in modern tooling to associate with it, either it be security as well as performance and monitoring, which we'll talk next. The one thing that we're seeing coming out of this is, although this was very specific use case, Aqua was just specifically used for our Docker production cluster from an enterprise perspective, we're seeing a lot of our business areas and programs expressing interest and wanting for their development teams to integrate with this particular instance of the product. So we're working with them on their CI/CD pipelines and their deployment processes from GitLabs and even using their command line interface. This has also been the segue for our security teams to really start learning more on the DevSecOps perspective and really understanding why this particular platform, this product is critical when we look at managing at scale a containers as a service platform. For health and performance monitoring, we're using Sysdig. So Sysdig is our container monitoring platform of choice. Very similar to what we're using Aqua for, right? Again, our legacy health and monitoring tooling just did not meet the needs when we looked at instantiating our containers as a service platform. So with Sysdig, we're doing custom dashboarding, custom alerting, event logging. This is really providing our users insight into how their particular apps and workloads are impacting the overall cluster, where before, the app owners, right, our developers would be like, here's my code, throw it into the data center, and good luck, and then complain about why it's not working. With Sysdig, we're able to kind of provide them visibility into how their app is performing, what changes that they need to make, and then again, from a maturity standpoint, we're beginning to show more and more about how we can use this and share this information with the respective developers. So those were a few things from an architecture and product standpoint that I wanted to highlight. The production use case, this is where the fun stuff is gonna happen. I have 3 use cases that I want to show with you. We have a multitude of different applications that are running from a production standpoint. Docker is not the only, Docker Enterprise is not the only container and orchestration platform that we're using, as you can imagine, with the organization our size. But we're finding that a lot of the other platforms, our OpenShifts, our Pivotal Cloud Foundries, and others, are leveraging a lot of what was done from our production cluster perspective, using DTR and so forth. So for our production use cases, I'm going to talk a little bit about WordPress as a service. That's one of our most significant app use cases that we're doing today from a production standpoint. I'm going to talk about augmented reality and have a quick video. And then finally, Play-with-Docker, which is just one of my favorites. So WordPress as a service was a massive project, and still it is. I know there's folks here from Lockheed Martin that are still supporting it, and will probably tell you, yeah, it's still a big deal. We have 52 sites, 20 active subsites, 180 editors, and 9 super admins. And I don't have the metrics from when we kind of started tracking WordPress, right? How many visits and page views. But just a sense from March. Okay, March alone, we had over 18,000 visits, 28,000 page views of just this enterprise IT WordPress site. So this is one of 52. Massive implementation, all running in containers within our production cluster. Our most popular sites are our cybersecurity site. Again, of those 18, 7,000 of those visits were to the cyber site, 12,000 of the 28,000 page views. And then our I2, which is our infrastructure and international, again, that made up about 3,000 of that 18,000 and 8,000 of the 28,000. So we're seeing awesome performance. We're seeing just a fantastic use case when we talk about WordPress as a service from a production standpoint. The next use case that I had highlighted this actually last year when we were in beta. So this is a use case that really hits home the power and the value of IT. We're working with a software called Remote AR. It's developed by a company called Scope AR. And what it does, it's kind of like a FaceTime with a little bit of on-screen scribble and icons, and being able to bring two people together to be able to troubleshoot on a particular platform. So the use case goes, and I have a brief video that I'll show you, is today, if we say we have F-35 out in Japan at one of our factories out there called the FACO, and there's an issue, a technician is at the plane, there's an issue. He calls back to the US and says, I have a problem with this particular plane. I'll try to describe it to you, see if you can help me. They eventually get to a point where they're like, okay, this is not working. I'm going to book a flight, and I'll see you in a day or two. Extreme costs, very high pain for the techs on both sides, right, from a weight and having to travel perspective, until we introduce this particular product. So let me go ahead and show you the video.
Hello.
Hi, Cliff. This is Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Can you see my video and hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, I want to show you a finding that we had on DTA line, aircraft left side. We've got a small indentation on the top and on the bottom at this point right here.
Okay. And,
So, sorry, what was that?
can you kind of back out just a little bit, give me an overview?
Yeah.
All right,
So,
got it. So you're back at the canopy hinge area.
correct. So let me give you those part numbers.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to stop the video. Sorry, I know you want to hear what those part numbers are, but that's sensitive information, so we got to cut that out. We've received numerous letters from top-level executives at Lockheed Martin saying that IT is saving us thousands on top of thousands of dollars and not having to ship people on site to be able to troubleshoot these types of issues, which in turn goes straight to from a customer standpoint where we're actually saving costs. So very exciting use case to them. It's just the magic of the cloud, right? But all of this is running on Docker, our Docker Enterprise within our AWS GovCloud. So the last use case, this is my fun use case. Who's familiar with Play-with-Docker? Okay. So they're still, okay, so good. So good show of hands. If you're not, look it up. You can just do a Google, Play-with-Docker. It's an awesome platform for offering your users, yourself, your company, your organization, others, the opportunity to test Docker and containers out without having to install any software. It all works in the browser. They even have training, Play with Docker, where you can actually go through tutorials and understanding. So it's a very frictionless way for users just to pull up a browser and be able to start throwing down some Docker commands. And before you know it, they become experts. That's a caricature of me from last year's DockerCon. When I asked my team to kind of develop an internal play with Docker, just from a data sensitivity perspective, we're not using the internet-based one, so this is all hosted on-prem. They went ahead and added that little guy. So on the right-hand side, my right-hand side, your right, yeah. On the right-hand side, that's what's called an e-card. So from a corporate perspective, we worked with our communications team to develop an e-card welcoming our IT community in trying Play with Docker. So this initially went out to 5,000 users, 5,000 IT users, right, as it's defined within the GAL, Global Address List. Not everybody in IT wants to know about Docker, but guess what? They have a way to at least figure out, maybe I'm interested, never heard of it, let me take a look. So maybe a little bit clickbaitish, is that a word? Clickbaitish, maybe? But ultimately, we saw at least within the first few days a 10% return on people who had clicked on it, may have never even known what Docker is, but it has a picture of me that maybe looks like me, right, without my glasses. And as those who are in security, they know that every user just wants to click on a link or do something. So a little bit of social engineering going there. So what I want to do is just kind of show you a little bit of what our internal play with Docker kind of looks like. So I'll walk you through just a bit of it. So it's pretty simple. Users just kind of click the start button and they go ahead and connect to the session. Now we've incorporated the tutorials. So on the right-hand side, they get a drop-down, and we go from relatively basic to a little bit more advanced. You know, when we talk about multi-nodes and swarm and so forth. But they simply just click on, say, this first Alpine Linux container. They scroll down, and you can see that the tutorial has information. And this is directly extracted from GitHub. You know, we didn't create this. We're just borrowing and implementing. On the left-hand side, when you add new instance, you see that it created a new instance. It assigns a IP address. You can see memory statistics, CPU statistics, and then you could just click right into the window and start writing your commands. So I think we're doing the Docker hello world to kind of make sure that the cluster is working well. Looks like everything worked well. You get a message here. It says hello from Docker. And then I wanted to briefly kind of just show you we'll do a simple Docker pull of the Nginx image so that you can see what it looks like when you actually run Nginx from a web server perspective. So it's pulled down the package. I didn't give it the latest tag, so it assumes the latest. And then just with the Docker run, giving it the name, giving it the port flag. Just simply did 8080. You'll see in the interface right above, once you execute that command, within Play with Docker, it offers you up a hyperlink so that you can go ahead and click on it to go into a new browser. So you see there the port 80 has shown up. Just click on that in a new tab. And you're welcome to Nginx. So again, all browser-based, very frictionless means of introducing your colleagues, your constituents, your users, a way of using Docker. I did want to give credit to fellow captains, Marcos and Jonathan. They're the authors of Play-with-Docker and have really continued to do more development, and has been just an awesome platform for us. And then just real briefly, shout outs. We have some folks in the room, Joseph Gonzalez, Darren Decker, Mark Martinez, Ian Hunter, who couldn't make it, Melissa Wilson, Noah Costello, Carrie Carruthers. Big thanks to the team for implementing this and offering this to the entire corporation. This is available to 100,000 users globally. So in closing, right now the Docker enterprise impacts for Lockheed Martin have been huge. As I mentioned earlier, it's a key core component, one of many within our Lockheed Martin tech stack. It's really driving from a digital transformation perspective. What do we need to do from a software development, software deployment standpoint? Modernizing our existing enterprise applications, developing new applications. We're seeing a lot of organizational transformation as we're kind of coming together and leveraging an enterprise platform like Docker Enterprise. More modernization from an application and infrastructure. People are really beginning to understand now that infrastructure can be code. And then looking at, as I mentioned, some of the platform integration from the various CI/CD development pipelines, from security, with Aqua, with Sysdig, from a performance and health monitoring. And then finally, some collaboration. So all those fragmented organizations are coming together more to leverage our Docker Enterprise platform. If you're interested, come talk to me, come talk to my team. We're hiring. We need the skills that are in this room right now. When we talk about digital transformation, these are the skills that you have today, from sysadmins to developers to data scientists, analytics. We're looking at all of those skills.
Storeroom, come back.
I'm not answering that. So come join us. And finally, here's my contact information. So if you want to stay in touch, email me, follow me on Twitter, or connect on me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. I think we have a few minutes for questions.
Anyone have any questions?
In working with the DoD, with more and more programs bidding cloud infrastructures, Docker, containerization in classified areas, how does Lockheed deal with the enhanced restrictions and the approval process for this technology in classified areas? That's
a great question, and I promise you, I don't know you, right? That you're not a plant. You're not a plant. I don't know you. So that may be topic of part 3, okay? But let me tell you a little bit of what we started working. So to your point, right, and for those who are not familiar from a government contractor standpoint, we do a lot that's unclassified, but a huge amount of work is done from a classified perspective. And Docker today is being used, Docker CE, a little bit of enterprise is being used in our classified environments. Some of it is being done on the NIPR, some of it has been done on the SIPRNet. When you look at Lockheed Martin and our programs and our respective areas from a classified standpoint, it's a challenge. So as starting earlier this year and some of last year, we started organizing ourselves and working with our classified space owners to kind of say, would it be valuable for us to, from an enterprise perspective, develop a common reference architecture for classified environments? Because today it's being done 100 million ways, as you can imagine, right? Thumb drives, one way in, no way out. Sneaker netting, we have some air-gapped environments, and overall, there's not a very seamless, efficient, and common way to do that. So we started earlier in the year, towards last year and earlier this year, of having that conversation of how we can develop that common architecture. We haven't figured it out. It's still a work in progress, but something that I'm hoping that we can come back to DockerCon and talk about. Does that help? Yeah. Awesome.
Question?
No other questions? Awesome. We got one more.
Excellent.
The pressure got you.
You're afraid to ask me questions.
So in terms of container security, right, what is the biggest concern, right, for, from your company perspective? So why use, Alco to do that, to seal that gap?
I'm sorry, I caught only some of that question.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like use the container security, right?
Yes.
So what is the biggest, gap, like concern from your company? So use case wise, why you use the alcohol to, fill that gap? So can you?
So I think you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong.
Circulated, container circulated perspective. So what is the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say right now the biggest challenge for us is adoption. We have a lot of kind of monolith applications where we have the infrastructure, we have the platform ready to go, but we don't have the developers who have been given, right, start refactoring a lot of these applications, learn microservices architecture, and then kind of translating that into a container-based, kind of platform. So that to me is one of our biggest challenge on adoption and really kind of being able to get out of the legacy and monolith and into our overall cluster. I'm not sure what else any from my team. Any other challenges that we're seeing?
Non-root containers?
Huh?
Non-root containers?
Non-what? Non-root? Yeah. Yes. Non-root would be nice, but I just assumed everybody knew that.
No, that's not true at all.
Yeah, so not being able to, not having to run right as root would be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Any other challenges that they may be experiencing? Yeah.
So I'm curious, are you seeing overlap when you introduce tools like Aqua in filling the gap for what is now called DevSecOps? There is a lot of tooling that is used for more of microservices or serverless type deployments that have other solutions to do some sort of analysis on libraries that they use that is very similar to you pulling an image, right? So how are you managing that? Is that a challenge for you guys?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer some of it, and then guess what? I have our Docker security engineer in the room, so we can talk more about it. Put him on the spot. So we found initially that the Docker EE security tooling was good, right? Out of the box, right? Batteries included, image scanning, and everything like that. But when you look at our security needs, it really didn't cover, right, the gambit of what was needed, which is why we went to Aqua from a feature perspective. Now I missed some of the question you had when you were talking about from pulling images or pulling down from libraries. But Corey, did you want to highlight a little bit on your experience with it?
Yeah, and I didn't really fully get the question, but I can kind of explain some of our use case with Aqua. We've been using Aqua about 2 years, kind of back when they first started, when there wasn't a lot of like container security products really on the market. The one thing that attracted us to Aqua was the CI/CD integration. We have pipelines at Lockheed are still kind of being established. It's kind of new, but Aqua provided the ability to do container security scanning and pipelines. So that was one big thing that we wanted to do. And also kind of getting visibility into our Docker clusters with Docker Enterprise Edition. If you go back to part one, the first year was mainly kind of getting visibility and kind of learning the tool. And this year, sorry I came in a little late, but the focus the second year is really integrating container scanning into pipelines. So I think your question about pulling down from Docker Hub and things like that, we're able to like set policies with Aqua to like only allow like approved images that we've defined rather than things coming from Docker Hub. So we're utilizing that. And things like containers that's running as root, we're able to get visibility into that as well, along with all of the vulnerability data that Aqua provides. So I hope that answered the question.
That answer? Awesome. You see, it takes a team to make the magic happen. Any other questions? None? Okay, let's let's get out of here for the next presenter. Thank you very much.
You.